Raise your horns high and let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the loudness grow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show.
So yeah, since the last time we saw y'all, I had gone out and I live in a small mountain town, let that be known, and so we don't get a lot of, we don't get a lot of bands. 'Cause it's not like they're a kind of theater where we get all kinds of bands every weekend. So we get one or two big bands a year, at least locally. You could go off in the mountains to some casinos probably and find other shows, but here in my town, you only get one or two bands a year. So this year, for our Memorial Day weekend, they brought they have a couple concerts, but the rock concert was Queensryche. So my son, being an aspiring drummer, was he's listened to Queensryche before and enjoyed them, so we had headed down there and checked it out. Now, I personally have never seen Todd La Torre and that version of Queensryche. I've seen Queensryche with Jeff Tate back in the day, I think 3 times total, and so I was a little bit. I got to be honest. I wanted to go and see the band, but I was a little apprehensive. Am I going to feel like this is not, is this going to feel tribute or cover bandish to me? Because it's not Jeff. That was kind of my first thought process. I'd only seen him with DeGarmo once. All the other times I saw them, DeGarmo was already out of the picture. It was during those early 2000 periods where they were, I believe, once opening for Iron Maiden, I caught them. So the point is, I was a little bit, what's the word? Worried that I would be let down is the idea here. I was worried I would be let down. And I went into the show. Well, yes, I want to be disappointed, but yeah. I went to this show and I was blown the fuck away. I got to be honest, man. I was quite impressed. I was like, holy shit. Not only, obviously, you could catch some YouTube videos and get the idea that Todd can sing this way and he can hit the notes the way that they should be hit. But when you see it in person, it's even more powerful. You're like, holy, this guy can blow the fucking roof off this place. And he's literally, even some of those ones that Jeff cannot do in that key, he's going there and he's kind of showed you can go there like no problem. So I came away feeling like, and then I was also, being a musician, when I've seen Queensryche in the past, part of the show for me was not just all of that. I was a big Scott Rockenfield fan, man. As a drummer, the guy was a hell of a drummer and always put on a show back there with the kit, so to speak. So, but this guy, Casey Grillo is his name. He really held it down, played the parts like, honestly, like he could do it in his sleep, which is, pretty impressive. And so I didn't miss anything is what I'm saying. I kind of went, well, damn, I walked away going, I can kind of see why they would have no, before the show, maybe in my mind, I thought they should get together with Jeff. And before these guys get too old and one of them doesn't come back like so many are. And after seeing this, I would see no reason for Whip and Eddie to go back to Jeff. I don't see that really. Maybe if DeGarmo and Rockenfield were all on board and it was like a full original thing, but that's obviously never going to happen. So as long as that's not on the table, then I'd stick with Todd. I would stick with Todd. And even they played something off DNA, Digital Noise Alliance, and the song they played off that, I was actually not, it didn't make me want to go to the beer garden. I was not banging my head. So, yeah, I would definitely say, y'all, I think it was 30 or $35. So come on, you're not going to see, it was a good show. So, also, during that show, I was able to meet the singer for the opening band, who from some other projects in the Portland area. So I've talked to him. He's going to come on the show later. We'll break that once we actually confirm a date and a time, but we'll have another guest there coming on the show to talk music.
And he's an interesting guy because he's in the Southern Oregon area, and I think he even does some radio actually, or used to do radio. And he owns a record store down there. So,
Okay, see,
Interesting.
I didn't even get to because Queensryche was playing
Hmm.
when I was talking to him,
Right.
so I didn't get into all of that. But
Right.
he did say in Portland with Silent Scream,
Right.
and
Cruella,
yeah,
which
you
was an
mentioned
old,
something. Yeah,
yeah, like a late
he said that
80s kind of metal band from Portland.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he said those were the two things up there that he had done, and so
Hmm.
I mentioned your name, and he said I think I do know who that is. So, he checked out our Rumble channel and texted me right back and said, yeah, we'll
He
hook up
didn't say,
sometime here soon, and
"Who?"
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, that was cool. But yeah, if you get to check out Lattori, go check out Lattori. It reinvigorated me for Queensryche. I've been rocking them the last week or so, and now, with the announcement, I think me and you, Ruben, and
Right.
Andrew were sharing in our chat. I guess Tate has announced more dates, and one
Yeah.
of the dates was up near you, I believe,
Hawthorne. Yeah. So,
and one
I,
of the dates is down here, which is just, I believe, an hour south of me at a casino. And I might actually go now see Tate, so I can see
yeah, I mean,
Tate and Lattori in the same year, and kind of have a
yeah,
back-to-back comparison of what they're doing here.
I can't even count how many times I've seen Queensryche anymore, but I've been, being a Northwest guy, I mean, obviously saw them early on. And I think it was like Rage. Yeah, with Rage for Order. So I didn't catch like the early on EP era and the Warning. So it was Rage for Order, Forward, and Latore. Yeah, I mean, I've been, I think I mentioned to you, I saw the Rising West second show, which was when they
Yeah.
introduced him as. That was a weird time because at that point, I thought they were going forward as that, and they were just doing a couple warm up shows in Seattle at the Hard Rock, which was jam packed.
Mhm.
People from Japan and Europe had flown in just for the shows. Those sold out quick. Like I don't even know how I managed to get. Oh yeah, I did. I know how I managed. I got comped. That's how I managed to get in there. But I had
Oh,
to
there you
drive
go.
to Seattle, which was a campaign. I mean, who wants to drive to Seattle? Who wants to drive to Portland? But either way, I
Yeah.
mean, I had to go through Portland to get to Seattle, and but that was all hits, all the classics, and I was like, holy shit! I can't wait for them to do original material, and then that shifted to, oh shit, this is Queensryche now. Um, but that was the very first Latore show I saw, and since then, I mean, I've seen them over time. They're again always on the cruise. I think there was a couple of the times I think I'd either seen them prior to the cruise, saw him both times on the cruise, and then saw him again. Same with Tate. He was on there. I saw him both times on the cruise, saw Queensryche, and then saw Tate in the fall. So I mean, I'm okay with having both of them out there doing Queensryche. I actually
Yeah.
prefer it. I mean, have them do their own shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if there's no way to get DeGarmo and Rockenfield and make it the original
Right.
thing that we would all want to see, and I just think like DeGarmo is the one that's never ever coming back to the plate. So if that's the case, then yeah, I don't see any reason for them. Do you think they should each go do their own show? And quite frankly, I believe I checked the Tate tickets at the casino down
Mm-hmm.
here, $35 as well. So neither
Yeah.
one of them are pricing you out of the park, and I
No, they're
don't
not
know how many
terrible.
other bands. Yeah, so that would be definitely worth it. I'm gonna pick that ticket for
Yeah, so I
that. And
don't know how much. I haven't checked how much those are at the Hawthorne, but I'm guessing it's about the same. And I think in November that's the best time to go. Homeless are off the streets. They've cleaned up the area a little bit just in time for Christmas, so they can have the Christmas traffic in and out of the stores in Fred Meyer in that area. And then you can just cross the street and you're at the Hawthorne and you can hang out and wait for the show to go. But um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, $35 isn't terrible for Jeff Tate, and he does put on a show. I mean, he does have does do some in between songs banter, but it's not cringy. I think
yeah,
some of it's kind of funny. Um, but yeah, and is he using tracks? Is he using? Well, I don't know. I mean, I think this last time I was like, well, maybe he is. I mean, but
Mhm.
it's hard to
Well, I
tell,
would
I
say,
guess.
being perfectly honest,
Yeah,
Queensryche did use some
sure.
things during Silent Lucidity
Right.
There was some clear moments where they put an effect on Latori's voice to make it go multiple times, the echo type thing or what
Right.
reverb. But that was obvious. It wasn't like they were trying
Sure.
to hide it. You knew that's what everybody could see. That's what they were doing.
Hmm.
But maybe during the choruses, I don't know. It seemed like Eddie Jackson was singing though. They had him.
Sure.
The guy tested an Eddie Jackson microphone, and it was hot before they
Yeah.
started the show. So,
Right.
but the point of, I think I would give him credit. I saw Firehouse at the same venue, the
Hmm.
same event last year, and I would say they had about, they're saying that this was the largest crowd for any band at this
Well,
event in the history of the event. Now,
right.
there was definitely a lot of like, what would I say? Even though we're in Southern Oregon, there's still a Pacific Northwest
Hmm.
vibe, and I think Queensryche still
Hmm.
they people know that's a Seattle Pacific Northwest band, and so I
Right.
don't know. And Todd mentioned that they had come from Florida, and when they got
Oh
off the
yeah.
plane, that how different the weather was, no humidity. It was felt like
Hmm.
and we were here in Southern Oregon in May is probably some of the best time of the year to be here. So,
Right.
um, but the bottom line was I was quite impressed. I would say there was 1,000 people there, which is a good turnout
Yeah.
for that event and that place. And the place Tate's doing in November will actually be a bit smaller. I think it's about half that,
Hmm.
500 or something. But it's indoors and it's the end of
Yeah.
November, which would be preferred. Who wants to be outdoors and that type of
Yeah. The
and
sound
it's
kind of
by the
floats
coast too,
around.
so.
Yeah.
It's by the ocean too, so I'm not going
Oh
to
yeah.
complain about that. The
Okay.
difference on that one is going to be it's a 21 and up show inside the casino, and so my son won't be able to go to that one, but that's okay. Dad doesn't mind. I could have a night to go rock out with by myself. So,
Right.
but yeah, so I'll check that out. But yeah, they came right out with, I mean, a lot of the classics. They only, for me as a person, I came in with Operation Mindcrime as a listener,
Hmm.
and then obviously into Empire and Promised Land and all that stuff. And but they pretty much stuck to Empire and before. I don't think other than the DNA song. And so yeah, I mean, you got to give him credit. There's just some times where he hits
Yeah.
the notes and you're like, there he goes, dude. That sounds just like the record. He hit the fucking high
Well,
note
that
when you expected him to.
yeah. I think it's
With now
good
that
that
it didn't
they're
seem like it
mixing it
was
up.
very hard for him either.
No.
So yeah.
And for a bit, they're kind of like Tate. He's latched on to doing mind crime. What they were doing for, well, I mean, the last three times I've seen them, is they were doing the EP and the warning top to bottom, and then they threw in a couple hits at the end.
I did before I stopped paying attention briefly to go find the singer for Emissary, Jim. I did take down the first couple of songs. They start out with Queen of the Reich,
Hmm.
Operation Mindcrime, Walk in the Shadows, Lady Wore Black, and I Don't Believe in Love, like right
Hmm.
out the
Yeah.
get-go. I think they only talked briefly between one of those after the third one or something. And I was like, man, they're just laying it down. And they did do off Empire, they did I don't know if they did Jet City or Another Rainy Night, but they did one or the other, and
Uh,
they did obviously Empire, and they did Silent Lucidity, which is you're expecting them to do those too, because those are probably
right.
So yeah, but I have no complaints. It was a hell of a
Right.
show.
No, that's good. I mean, I think they probably were better off mixing it up for something like that, because if they did just the EP and the warning, people would be like, "Fuck, I want to hear the hits."
You
Um,
definitely had a lot of older people, or my age or older, mean mid 40s to mid 60s, who you could tell that they're just coming for the Memorial Day concert. I hope they play Empire
yeah,
or Silent Lucidity. They know the two or three songs,
yeah.
and so. But the main thing I think I came away with, I was just like, damn, dude, this guy. Not only again, it's one thing to see it on a video or to hear it on. I always question CDs or music
Hmm.
that's recorded these days because I know what Pro Tools can do as a musician. I
Right.
recorded on Pro Tools, so I know how good it can make you sound when you're not really that. But to see it live in person and to see it, there's a few times in my life where I've been in the crowd and I thought, this dude is literally belting it so loud. It's, borderline hurting my ears. And
Right.
the first one was Rob Halford when he
Oh yeah.
was in the Halford band. I was like third
Oh
row
shit.
at one of
Yeah.
these, and he was just, I mean, they had him so loud vocally in the mix, and he was so powerful at that point with his
Hmm.
vocal. It was like I didn't, but a friend of mine went to the bathroom, got the toilet paper, and
Oh,
shoved it in his
jammed it in
ears
his ears.
to get
Oh
back
fuck.
down there to where I was standing because it was so loud. And
Yeah.
but powerful. The dude's voice is like a whole, when you hear someone like that. And Todd, to me, when I got up close,
Hmm.
I was like, damn, he really is just laying it out there in a way that, no offense to Jeff Tate, he's still a great singer, but at his age and how he's taking care of himself, he cannot do, I don't think, that in the original tunings, or very close to the original
Right.
tunings like they're doing. So, but no
Yeah.
knock on him. I think from what I've seen of his band, it's worthy of going to check it out. I'm going to go check it out at the casino in November. So yeah, I think later here, maybe in another couple of weeks, we'll do some Queensryche album
Right.
versus album. We're going to probably reach out to Kendall Peters, and maybe Andrew will want to pop back on for that
Yeah.
one. And at some point, we'll compare some
You're gonna
Queensryche
go,
albums.
my friend Kendall Peters.
My, me and my brother's friend
Yeah.
Kendall Peters
Yeah.
will
Right.
appear
So,
to. Don't mind me, Wendell. I'm just fixing
right.
something here. You keep driving. You keep
Yeah.
driving, brother Wendell. Keep
Well,
driving.
since we're chatting Wendell, one of the things too is there's a dancing polar bear. Oh no, Cuban bear. But DeMartini and Piercy DeMartini are going to perform at the Illinois Casino in Ridgefield in August, and they're going to have Great White, or the Mark Kendall
Carlisle.
Great White
Yes. Yep.
opening. But I was excited at first. I don't know how I feel about it now because, Piercy, I mean, he's good for a couple songs. And then after that, it's like, I'm going to be sitting there going, fuck, I drove all the way out here. And, he's a
That
couple
would
songs
be.
in, and that's that.
That is for Evil here, just as it is for Aiken and Wendell and you, and probably anyone who's above about 30, 35 years of age. You start taking into consideration, how far am I traveling? What am I
Yeah.
actually having to do to go to this show? And then how badly do I want to see it? So
Hmm.
for me, that would be the consideration. It's not that I don't want to see Piercy DeMartini. If they come anywhere, probably Eugene, Oregon, or south, I'm going
Right.
to probably find my way to them. But the chances they're coming down here, unless it's a casino, are pretty
Yeah, it'll
slim.
probably be a casino.
But I have to say, honestly, I kind of want to see the Great White with Brett Carlisle. Again,
That is
Tori
good. I mean, that guy's
that made
good.
me feel like, yeah, he
Hmm.
can sing it right. And I think, if I'm wondering if it's going to be like when I saw Latore with Reich, where I'm going to feel like, Dad, okay, now that I'm seeing it live, it does really sound like
Right.
Great White. I can get with that. So,
I mean, that
and
sounds a lot
as much
better
as
than
I,
that sounds
yeah.
better than Terry Luce or Andrew
Well, that
Freeman.
was
Ugh.
my. I
Or
never
Mitch
felt like
Malloy.
those.
Fuck.
I never felt like those guys in the band were the
Mm,
problem. Audie knows his parts, and
sure.
Michael knows his parts, and Mark knows his parts, and they can have any bass player pretty much get up there and rock the
Hmm.
bass lines. Although, again, I don't understand why they would never just reach back to Montana and say, "Do what you did before, dude."
Right.
But the point is, I think they have hit upon the singer who can sing it
Yeah.
right, make it sound like it, at least the closest as you're going to get in 2025. And yeah, I would go check that out. I think if the price was right and if the venue and the distance wasn't too
Well,
far,
the
that's a decent
venue's
package. I would
nice.
go check it
The
out. Yeah.
venue's nice. It's 65. What is it?
How
65
far?
bones? Yeah, 65 bones.
How
I
far of a drive are we talking from, my
uh,
friend? That's where we start getting
well, on a
into
good
time
day,
wise.
on a good
Yeah.
day. I mean, it's fuck, Ridgefield. I think you get caught up in a lot of traffic because you're heading up I-5. I don't know. I mean, I think once you
Yeah.
hit Portland, it's probably another good 40 minutes if it's bad traffic.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. And then staying at that casino is a fucking ugh. You're probably coughing up $300 for a fucking room. So it's like,
I'm fortunate at the Jeff Tate one in November. I'm like 99% positive that coastal town in late November will have plenty of other hotels with
right,
open availability right on the ocean, and I don't have to pay and I don't really. I'll
right,
probably hit the diner at the casino and
hmm,
see Tate, and then boogie back to a room somewhere by the
right.
ocean. But
Um,
yeah, so
so that's on.
yeah, that would be the decision. If you're looking at 2 hours or more travel time, either way or whatever, I don't know. It starts kind of feeling like, where am I? That's the problem when we discuss the Ace Frehley show. He's
Oh
just
yeah,
far enough that I'm like, four
yeah.
hours from me each way for Ace. I don't know if I
Well,
can
and
pull the
and then the
trigger
other
on that.
thing too, that's fucking fire season. That's the first thing I always think when I'm
It'll be
thinking
dry
driving
and
south.
hot,
You know,
also in that area of
Warm
eastern
Springs
Oregon.
always lights up in in in
And
July through like
mm,
fucking September. So
yeah,
who
and
knows?
between
Ace may
me
not even
and
make it.
Bend. Yeah,
Yeah.
between me and Bend is a lot of forest that could have a lot
Hmm.
of fire, that's for sure. So, and I ain't driving up I-5 and going, that would be ridiculous. So, yeah, no, that's really why I didn't. And then at the same thing with the Ace thing, when I looked really where he's playing, if you're not
Hmm.
staying at the casino, where are you driving to? To what hotels would I be
Yeah.
going to? So that's these kinds of things at my age do play a factor. And you start going, I don't know if I really
Yeah, you
want to.
run out of options. I think once you get, if you don't fuel up in at Warm Springs, I think you're fucked up until you get close to the government camp.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of these things, when I was a younger man and I had 3 or 4 buddies with me, we could pile in a rig and different drivers, and we'll drive all night and do crazy things or whatever, then it was different. But now at my age, I'm probably going to that solo again at a casino. My kid probably
Yeah.
can't go, so I'd be going solo. That's why I thought, yeah, he's over 3.5, almost 4 hours. I'm going to pass
Well,
on
I
him.
was
So
thinking too, Pantera's in August, so Pantera's at Ridgefield too. I'm thinking, well, I don't know. I mean, I think if one of if I had an option to go to those 3 shows and could only, or those 3 shows are happening, can only go to 2, I guess I'd probably say Pantera number one.
now is that
Um,
a Pantera headlining show?
Pantera headlining with who the fuck is opening? Huh, I don't remember, but I know
I would
the middle
definitely
band's good.
them headlining is more attractive to me
Right.
than them
I'll
with
have to look.
Metallica, where they're only playing for a limited set. Some of my favorite Pantera songs would require them to play over an hour to get to them because they're going to
Right.
have to go through the hits, and that's going to take up 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
So
So yeah, and or Rat, I guess, or Piercy DiMartini, I
here's
guess,
yeah.
because I don't know. I mean, Ace Frehley, I've seen him before. I mean,
Yeah, what
and
out of the what is the Pantera running you ticket price? I
let
wonder
me
too
look.
versus the Piercy D Martini. So is
Well,
Piercy now? This is an amphitheater, correct?
yeah, it's an amphitheater.
Yeah,
Well, and
what they call a shed in the
a
business, right?
shed. Well, I can tell you what it's going to cost me. It's going to cost me nothing because I
Well,
know
yeah,
the
for you. I'm
publicist
saying if
let me
average
look.
Joe, if
Well,
me and Neely were driving up
you
to
and
over here
Neely.
to he's taking me to the ticket stand right now outside the venue. What are they going to cost me to get in this place?
Well, I mean, there's some.
Some of my favorite venues, though, are those kinds of sheds. I love Shoreline Amphitheater. I never had a problem with the Sac Valley. Now they call it something else, Toyota. I don't know.
Yeah.
They keep changing the name. The amphitheaters like that. I never had a problem with them. Particularly Shoreline was one of my favorite venues to go see shows.
Oh, it's a monomarth. That's what it is. It's a
Okay.
monomarth is the middle. Now they're fucking
Well,
crazy. I mean,
yeah,
I
I've
don't know
watched
that I'm a
some.
huge fan of a monomarth, but I'm a huge fan of their visual shit.
The stage
Um,
show looks pretty
yeah,
ridiculous.
like
Yeah, it's
when
pretty cool.
I saw them last was I think it was last summer with who was it? God, I think it might have been Cannibal Corpse and Obituary, but yeah, fucking crazy. So Monomartha is the opening band. So the publicist that's handling um Pantera is one that I've been friends with for years, but
My
decades,
personal
probably 20
friend.
years, but then I
I've
also
got
know
him
the
on
folks
speed
at
dial.
Monomarth, so
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That's not going to cost a whole lot, just patience.
That's probably one that might be worthy of the. It's tough. Because I don't know. Like for me, I've never seen D Martini live, so every time
Right,
I caught Steven or whatever version of Rat or
right.
what, there was always things going on and not the right players and the. So that would be the. But even that does feel a little bit like. Do I wait 6 months or a year and his blots are on the kit, and then the guy on bass actually is the
Yeah,
guy that should be on bass, and then
right.
I can find a way to a show where it's the real dudes, and then that might be
They'll
so.
be opening.
Yeah.
I my thoughts are they'll be opening up as Rat for Poison.
Well, again, if what Mr. Rocket says is true, they've been offered a headlining spot on a package tour, and it's up
Hmm.
to Brett to sign off on. And yeah, I would imagine they're going to need a couple of bands on there.
Hmm.
So, again, I don't, maybe it's just wishful thinking, but someone like me looks at that and goes, "Yeah, why don't you get Steven and D Martini's band? Why
Hmm.
don't you get just give me a Firehouse opening, give me even LA Guns opening, give me something like that, something different that's not the same. I don't know, give me something slightly different with each band is what I'm saying. So.
Hmm. Yeah.
In a package that I haven't seen before. I mean, obviously some of these bands may have run around together a little bit, but not maybe two or three or four of them all together. So
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that they could easily be opening up for or for Poison, because it's like who's Poison going to get to open up for them? I mean, there's not a whole lot of options out there.
the two times I saw Poison, they were both with, well, back then it was Cinderella.
Hmm.
So
Well,
I
it
do
could be Tom
wonder.
Kiefer at the bottom
I
of the
was
bill.
wondering
Yeah.
if Tom would be somewhere in the lineup there, but
So there's a
um,
chance, and I forget when he's performing, but I know Tom Kiefer and LA Guns are doing a tour. Um, they're not coming to Oregon, obviously. Otherwise, I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go
we
to.
do routinely get there's a lot of tours that kind of get to San
There's a lot.
Francisco and then go to Reno or go to Montana or something, but they just
Hmm.
avoid this whole
Yeah, like
I-5 and
Ministry
yeah.
forever had been hitting Portland. They always sell out, but they didn't come to Portland this year. I mean, I got Saturday, which is kind of a weird one. I'm gonna go see the fucking Lords of Acid only because
Mhm.
um it's been a while since I saw him, and it's one of those bands that you're kind of into for a bit, and then it's like,
Mhm.
well, it's kind of industrial, kind of different,
Yeah,
and that's sold out, but that's playing at a little hole in the wall, in
nice. Mhm.
Portland. But Tom Kiefer, going back to that, Tom Kiefer and LA Guns are going to be in Boise, and my kid lives in Boise, so I'm like, well, maybe I should fly to Boise,
Yeah, actually, I think I noticed that too. They were kind of doing the same thing where they were hitting, all these places,
Hmm.
but Oregon
But Oregon,
Oregon and Washington, it seemed, or maybe if they're hitting Washington, it was Spokane or something, but
yeah,
not, Western. And I get it, the cost, the travel, the traffic,
the
it's
chance
pretty
of getting
ridiculous,
your
man. I mean,
shit stolen in Portland.
well, let's be absolutely realistic here, people. Now, those guys are big bands, so they've got roadies and
Hmm.
techs and things helping keep an eye on stuff. But a band of my size, we've been to played in Portland and Seattle before, and guess what we had to resort to? There was such a level of automotive theft and
Hmm.
break-ins and problems that we had to like put a guy in the back of the van to make sure that him and the
Right.
gear in the trailer never got taken during the course of the night. And we kind of Rochambeau over who's going to get
Hmm.
the van duty every night when we're on the road up there. So
Right.
yeah, it's just not convenient. It's kind of like that's one of the things that I never enjoyed in playing in the Bay Area in San Francisco. It's a
Hmm.
nightmare to get in and out. It's not
Well,
being once you get there, you're all right. Being at the venue and
right.
everything's great for those 2 or 3 hours, but getting there and getting out of there and finding a place to stay that's not going to lead to your shit getting stolen or it's just a mess, man. So.
Yeah. Then
I
that's
don't know
why
if
the
it's like that in Midwest or East Coast cities. I would
yeah.
imagine once you get to New York and Boston, the same problems, But again, that's
Hmm.
why I think you sometimes see limited tour dates in some of those regions, or you see a band
Well,
say, "We're going to play New York, but we're playing on Long Island, or we're playing in Jersey, but we're not going into the city." So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird to me that a lot of those tours will play in Seattle. They'll hit Seattle, and it's like, fuck, Seattle's worse than fucking Portland, but they're skipping that.
Yeah, some of that could be size of the city versus what they can get. Sometimes it's obviously what a promoter's offer, a venue's offering for like even a band of my size. Like we pick and choose based on what's being offered to us. Is there enough money
Hmm.
for us to go up there and play those couple of shows and make that worthwhile? And so, it's, each band has a different operation. And
Right.
also one thing to take into consideration when you're a band of larger size, a Pantera, even DeMartini and Piercy, when
Hmm.
you hit certain cities, there's unions for these
Oh
people
yeah.
that are working on it. Then it's a whole nother level of money that has
Hmm.
to go up based upon paying all these people to work, do the actual venue you want to do in the city.
Right.
So yeah, that would also mean a certain amount of tickets are going to be sold or be guaranteed to be sold for these people to want to bring you on board and do that. So,
Hmm.
but you know, yeah.
Well, there you go. So maybe,
I was going to mention to you
maybe
real quick.
DeMartini.
Yeah, I was going to mention to you real quick that I do like Ministry, and I saw Ministry at the Regency, no,
No.
Avalon Ballroom in
Yeah.
San Francisco, which is a smaller venue, and Al and them destroyed that place,
Oh, I'm
man.
sure.
They brought out Jello Biafra of the Dead Kennedys and did some Kennedys covers, and it was one of those shows where I was lucky to make it out intact with no broken bones, no
Yeah.
blood, maybe a few bruises, but
Right. I'm trying to.
Ministry fans are a whole nother level of insane once they start
Right.
hitting certain songs. It's wall to wall chaos basically breaking out. There is
Yeah.
no one in charge anymore.
Yeah, that's one of those bands that, regardless of how I feel about Al's political bullshit,
Yeah.
always good. I don't know that the last couple records have been great, but let me look here.
Fortunately, he usually only gives you a couple of songs of those
Yeah,
live. I mean, unless he always reverts back to the stuff we're all looking for, just one fix and these kind of
yeah.
things.
I think the best lineup was the lineups that always included Paul Raven.
Hmm.
Um, so the Rio Grande Blood, I think I saw that tour twice. Like I mean, shit, that was
Raise your horns high.